Coming up next is true icon and highly respected personality in the automotive industry, Mrs. Pamela Tikku, Chief Business Officer, International Center of Automotive Technologies. As a moderator for the panel discussion, Mrs. Pamela Tikku. Moreover, there are 4 panelists. Panel members are Jagadambike Palaji, Head of Engineering Quality, Airbus India, Rema Parutipura Ravindran, General Manager, India Engineering Center, Braden Whitney, Lalita Karan, Group Manager, Infosys Limited, Mrs. Margaret Jean, Head Test System Software, MOOC India. We take this opportunity to thank you for accepting to be the panel discussion for the event celebrating women in engineering. On the occasion of this event, this is organized by SA Aerospace India Forum. Thank you all for joining with this panel discussion. Over to you, Pamela ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jeba. Good morning to all of you. On behalf of SA India, I would like to thank the panelists to be part of this panel discussion on a momentous occasion where we are celebrating International Day for Women in Engineering. And this is a very great initiative by SA Aerospace Forum. And I would like to extend my thanks to Munisan for organizing this event and putting up a very beautiful panel today. We had 2 keynote presentations today, one by Madam Rashmi Urdavarshi and another by Ms. R.T. Singh. And I think all of you heard 2 important personalities talking about their journey in engineering and how the prospect of future of women in engineering in India is, and also globally. This whole trend of women in STEM and women in engineering is increasing. So I think we have 4 panelists today. I would like to introduce them first, and then we can go through the panel discussion. So we have a panelist here, Miss Jagthambai Balaji. She is Head of Engineering Quality in Airbus, a graduate in Electrical and Electronic Engineering with total 20 years of experience, and has been in aerospace engineering for last 19 years. She has also worked on all aircraft types of Airbus, including helicopters. She has the Avionics Software Design Assurance Nominee Delegation from European Aviation Safety Agency. She has been an active member of Inclusion and Diversity Pillar of Airbus India and contributing to improve the gender diversity within Airbus India.
Hello.
Another panelist, sorry, yeah.
No, I just said hello, good morning.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. The second panelist today is Rema. She is also an electrical engineer with over 30 years of experience. She heads the Global India Engineering Center for Pratt & Whitney in Bangalore. Her mandate is to build the facility and team for ground zero and grow up to 500 plus team. We wish Rema all the best. Rema started her career as a control system engineer in power generation industry. And then she worked in excitation control systems for captive power generation plants. Later, for 12 years, she was with General Electric in their transportation division, taking progressive roles. She started as systems engineer for locomotive modernization projects in India, and over the years progressed to lead a COE for control and software engineering in India. Subsequently, she moved to Alstom Transportation to build a team for designing electrical systems for metro and passenger trains. At Alstom, Rema had an opportunity to lead over a design team with over $4.5 billion and 1,200 horsepower locomotive projects for Indian Railways. She's a passionate, she's very passionate about diversity and has been with Pratt & Whitney for last 1 year. She's married and has a daughter of 25 years old, and she loves gardening, cooking, reading, in addition to her engineering passion. Welcome, Prema.
Thank you, Pamela.
We have third panelist here. She is Latha Karan. She is the group manager for Infosys, and she has very rich experience of over 25 years. All through have a consistent record of high performance. She has taken diverse roles in product design and development solutions, not only in India but overseas. And one of the key accounts for her was North American Boeing and European OEM Airbus. Has a complete view of product development, has strong experience of aerospace domain, structures, composites, aero interiors, etc. She has a bachelor's degree in industrial and production engineering from Mangalore University, and has a very key member in Infosys for developing their aerospace business and champions it very efficiently. Welcome, Lalita. Our last panelist is Ms. Margaret Jean. She has over 20 years of experience in real-time embedded safety critical systems for ground and test aeronautical application. She is head of test system software with Moog India Technology Center. She has started her career in '97 and worked with TRW Aeronautical System, Lucas Aerospace, Birmingham, England, and then moved to US to join Flight Software Group Moog SLC in 2001 and transitioned to Moog India 2005 and was instrumental in setting up Moog division. I'm happy to share that from NATRIP, ICAT has set up state-of-the-art test facilities, and Moog was one of the key suppliers, and it was a very big project in India in 3 different locations. So I personally have been associated with this organization. She is also a presiding officer for POSH, and also provides various roles in different councils. And she is she's an electrical engineer, and her field of study is computer science from University of Madras. Later on, she did her master in engineering from University of Colorado, and has undergone diversity training at University International California. She loves outdoor activities, cycling, riding, motorcycle, trekking, and also enjoys crime and legal thrillers. So this is a very interesting panel we have today. I welcome you all on this panel discussion today, which is focused on celebrating women in engineering, which has been organized by Aerospace Division of SAE India. I am Pamela Tikku, and I would like to moderate this session. I would like to throw questions to each panelist today, and I would like to respond you to respond those questions, and we'll later on summarize the question and answer sessions. So the first question, I would request you to limit your response in 3 minutes. So my first question is, what do you think women in engineering professions, why do you think women in engineering professions are less in numbers? Is this the type of job, the type of industry, social framework, which do not allow more women in engineering field, even though we have large number of girls going into STEM education? To start with, I would request Jagdamba to respond.
Yeah, you can call me Jagatha, ma'am.
Jagatha, okay.
Otherwise, my name is difficult.
Thank you so much, Jagatha. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good morning, all, once again. Thank you, SAE, for inviting me to give my perspective. I would like to share more of personal experiences than what we know from the medias and whatever we see in the Google. If you see, for me, in this question, at the present scenario, type of job or type of industry, I feel that it's not a problem because now everything is, it used to be like a lot of physical work. Now everything is automated and anybody can do. Mainly, I would feel that it's social framework because of which that women are not able to participate. You know, I mentioned that I will give personal example. We are only looking at, yes, the two keynote speaker, they gave very positive message, but whatever stories I'm going to share, it is not to demotivate, but to give the real perspective. We are seeing the creamy layer, maybe 5% of India's population. But along with my daughter, I accompanied her when she wanted to do survey in the slums, like right in Bangalore. Forget about villages. When we went there, what they mentioned, if they can educate one person, they will choose their sons over their girls. And forget about education, even feeding. If they are not able to feed, first they are providing food to sons, not for a girl child. You know, the parent is doing, it's fine. The mother is doing. Somehow I felt that my daughter was too young at that time. She was in 9th standard. And she said, Mama, how can mother, like women is, like we are telling mother-in-law and this, bosses are against women and things like that. I felt that mother is not giving food to the girl. She is giving food to the boy. What does it mean? So I feel mainly it is social framework which is limiting. Not only in engineering, even the education itself. Yes, Madam Rashmi mentioned that second largest in the world in the engineering profession. But if you look at the ratio, the population which we have and where we stand, that we need to see. Because of our population, maybe the engineering professions, like the women who have taken are more. But the ratio, definitely the developed countries are like beyond us, like way beyond us. So definitely social framework and the society has to change. Because of that only, I feel very less women are there in this industry. Thank you. Maybe I can take it later. This is the message I wanted to pass from my personal experience.
Sorry, Jekta, it was very apt and very real situation that we face, and it's a fact of life in India. And you're very true. Even as mothers who are not supposed to discriminate, the mothers discriminate between sons and daughters. It's very, very sad. So my second panelist is Rema. So I would request Rema to put her thoughts on this first question.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, SAE, for providing me this platform to express my views on this topic. Very passionate about this topic, and I've been driving, not only diversity but also inclusion of women at all levels, in whichever roles that I have been playing in my past 30 years. So in the current organization, right, where I am at Pratt & Whitney, we are part of, we are part of the Raytheon RTX group, and our RTX chairman has is a part of this thing called as Paradigm for Parity, wherein, by 2030, we are aiming at having 50% of the representation of women at all levels in the organization, right? So this is something which is driven across the organization, driven down and so on. So when, as a leader of the center, when I have that mandate, I was trying to look at it from a context of India and trying to see how, where do we have why are we not getting enough women, right? I mean, we kind of, if you look at just the percentage as a metrics, I think most organizations tend to get stagnated at a 25-30% of level. And, how do you go beyond that is a question, right? So, I feel and as Jagdambika said, there are a couple of factors that are playing into it. So first, if you look at the supply issue itself, right, because of this mandate that was given, I was looking at, what's the availability of people in India for filling up that 50% of the roles as women. And if you look at the 10-year statistics from All India Council for Technical Education, you will see that the enrollment of women in engineering has been only at an average of 30% for the last 10 years. And if you break up these disciplines with branches, or the conventional versus the new age branches and so on, you will see that branches like computer science or architecture tend to have an equal ratio between men and women. But then when you go to more conventional, like whether it's electrical, it's around 20% or so, and worse when it is like in branches which in my team works on, like mechanical, right, is almost 5%. Hence, there's certainly a supply issue. So, so why, right? I mean, why is that? And so there is this element of social framework, like what Jagdambi was telling, somewhat related to that. And again, if you observe, most, whether it is a rural background or urban background, you can see at high school level, at the +2 level results, if you see, there's a high percentage of women who get to top ranks in many schools, are very, very highly qualified, they have really high marks and so on. Now you fast forward it, and in subjects like maths and physics, right? But then when you fast forward it by 1 year in that time frame, you will see lesser representation in core engineering disciplines. So when you talk to some of these teenage girls, like I know people who are around me and so on, and I myself have a daughter who's 25 years old who has gone into STEM, but then into biology kind of a field. When I talk to them, and when they say that when they talk about what career to choose, they prefer softer areas like computer science, bioinformatics, and things like that, because they have not seen real role models around them, right, in areas where it is heavy engineering, those kind of areas. So for me, it's a combination of supply and demand. The way I analyze it is, if you look at the 80s and the 90s, that's a time when people like me came into the workforce. There were lesser jobs to come by. Hence, naturally, women representation was lower. It was not about diversity inclusion, but across the board, the jobs were less, and so lesser women in the workforce and so on. And they are the people who have become seniors now, and you can see them as role models only now. But then when you see mid-90s, and those were more engineering, there were a lot of, the jobs that were available were engineering focused jobs. But now you go into the 90s, right? That's where the IT boom started, and it helped create more jobs. And then you started seeing more women participation in the workforce at that time. And so you see in the last 20 years or so, you see a lot more role models who have done it, more maybe in an IT software, if I can call it so, field, and they're visible. So that's one kind of analysis. And then, so lack of role models, right? Supply issue, lack of role models. And the third, that I think is also, as Jagdambi was saying, a social factor of awareness among parents and teachers, where they think that all core engineering subjects like mechanical or electrical need a lot of field work, hard manual effort, working in shifts, etc., etc. And as a society, we encourage girls to take up the so-called branches, which are more softer in nature. But then you see today, right? I mean, even in a company which is heavily engineers, all about mechanical, and here I am, a lady who's leading that set of mechanical engineers. There are very few who need that kind of hard jobs which need demand that kind of things, right? So and even I can personally talk from my own experience. And when Pamela introduced me, I was leading a 12,000 horsepower locomotive. You can think of it as a beast, electromechanical beast, on which you could have seen me many times on top of an engine or a locomotive. So I think it is just about, some of the earlier panelists also talked about it. You have to set your mind on it and you can do it, kind of a thing. But then it is not it's not that all the jobs demand that, right? There are multiple jobs that are available which can be done. So to conclude, lower representation, I think we need to, there are multiple factors: supply versus demand, lack of role models. Because of the time frame where we are in today, it is improving and it will improve. That's really a positive ray of hope there. And then some bit of a social conditioning, which you see even today. I mean, though it is progressive, but you still see those kind of subtle things happening in families. So it's a combination of all this, Pamela.
Thank you, Rima. Thank you. Very beautifully summarized your thoughts on this, and very rightly said. I mean, it's the combination of a lot of factors which are not enabling it. It's very true. Can I request Lalita to share her thoughts on this first question of mine? Yeah, thank you.
Sure, Pamela, and thanks everyone, and thanks for the introduction. Yeah. So yeah, I'm actually from service industry, so mostly my thoughts are aligning to that. Today, as Rema rightly said, no doubt many women opt for engineering courses, but the choice they make is mainly on branches like computers and electronics. So the reason why they make this choice is because most women, they just go with what most women make based on, not because of their own interest. Okay. So the one more thing is, like, there is a perception that if you pick up mechanical or aerospace kind of, branches, then you will end up in shop floor kind of work, which is very difficult and all that. So basically there is lack of awareness on this, because in engineering itself, we have diversified opportunities, especially in a service industries like mine, where you can, opt for design, stress, ME, IE quality, technical publications work of kind of work. So just to give an example, I can give my own example. When I am in this industry from last 25 years, and I have had my own ups and downs, because when I got into engineering, I'm an industrial and production engineer, and I was the only female student in my class. Okay. So there was a time when I thought, did I make the right choice at all? So, but then I stick to it, excelled it, and came out. And after I finished my engineering, another big challenge is, like, I really struggled to get a job. It was not like, how it was now. 25 years back, we really struggled for the branch which I was in. So I really struggled for 9 to 10 months to get a job. So that was the second time which I thought, did I make a right choice at all? Okay, because, and even for that matter, even I took up some IT courses also. But again, I stick to it. And then I joined an aerospace OEM as trainee. And from there on, I think there was just no looking back. I just grabbed every opportunity I got and I gave my 100%. So today, if I look back, I am handpicked every time by Infosys to manage every challenging project within this portfolio. And for example, in last 3 months, I have traveled 5 different countries for, customer meetings, representing Infosys, representing my team. So I have come a long way. Okay, the challenges and struggle that I face has made me only confident person and a better person. So the reason why I have because I was very, determined on my choice, very firm, which actually worked for me. So what I think is, the choice you make during the earlier part of your career or during your studies and sticking to it is really very important. Secondly, today what happens is, many women, it's a women nature. Basically, we systematically underestimate our abilities. We mostly, kind of go with the flow, don't really speak up to a level that even if you have your own success, you don't kind of, own that success. Basically, you, for example, if you say, if any success attempt by you, you tell, okay, I thank my manager, my team, my husband, my mother-in-law, my kids, my parents. But end of the day, what you have done to that team, what sacrifices you have made, what challenges you have gone through, and what ideas you have put onto the table. I think that is lacking. It's nothing wrong in saying it very loud and clear. Okay, I know it's the human nature. I'm also party to it, but at least owning your success is very important. Thirdly, I feel today, as Rema and told, we face a harder choice between professional success and personal fulfillment. So work-life balance plays a very important role because priorities change after the motherhood. So a support system is really required to, having women continue in their career. Okay, so that is not the case in many of the women today. I was lucky that I had that support system which helped me in my career growth. So in summary, I would say one is lack of awareness about the choices that you make, and secondly, the absence of support system to accommodate the personal fulfillment are some of the reasons why we see fewer women in the engineering. So what I would suggest is, instead of going with the flow, I think women need to make the proper choices, come out of the comfort zone, grab the opportunities, and once you are in, be very firm, determined, and focus on the choice that you make. I think if this mindset, then I think we can see more women in our field. So this is my thought process, Pamela.
Thank you. I mean, listening to you was like I was listening to my own story. You know, I'm a mechanical engineer and I was one girl in a class of 80 and one girl in the whole department. So I also face the same problem of, getting a job, because wherever I applied, they said, no, we don't apply. Our factories are not women oriented. We cannot accommodate women in our organization. So this was a scenario, when I, and as subsequently you are much younger to me, I mean, things didn't change for next 10 years, but I think now there is definitely change visible in many organizations. The acceptance has grown, and yeah, you're very true. Every challenge makes you a better person, and every challenge forces you to find better opportunities. Very rightly said. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My next panelist is Margaret. She's from MOOC. I will request Margaret to share her thoughts on the first question that I had posted.
Thank you, Pamela. So good morning, everyone, and thank you to SAE India for inviting me for this panel discussion. First of all, I would like to start off with a quote from Marie Curie. She said, "We must have perseverance and above all confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained." So happy International Engineering Day for all women here and for all women here in India. So to address your question, I'll take it in two aspects. One is, like, as I'm following the thoughts of what Jagadamba pointed here, the cream of cream layer. I think we have come far from where we were to today. But if you look at the socially disadvantaged groups, I think the early child development area, the focus area, needs to be there in India, because a larger percentage of our population resides in that area. So when you look at the report published by the National Education Policy, children, even though they move through the elementary school, there are a lot of dropouts after elementary school. So how much of support system do we have for these socially disadvantaged children? And what is the focus area? And building their early building blocks are really important, because if the foundation is good, and if we give them the confidence, then I think these children will be, and we give them a support system, then they will be able to take it forward into their, for a long-term learning and having a career for themselves. We at MOG also do a lot of outreach programs to some of the government schools, and we see a lot of children who come from a socially disadvantaged groups. And some of these children do come to school without even food, because the parents don't go, they are all laborers, and sometimes they come without any food, or just with rice and water. That is what they bring to school for studying. And there is a very difficult environment that we see around us. I think where we in our corporation should actually have a lot of outreach programs to support these children and bring them forward, so that they can have a career and make a life for themselves. I think corporations, the CSER funds that we have, I think a lot of it could be set aside just for the education of improving socially disadvantaged children. And we also see that there is a survey by the Bureau of Planning and Monitoring Statistics, which says that the gender parity for engineering starts not at engineering, but rather at a very elementary level itself. So addressing this concern would take us to where we need to achieve for India. Now, going to fast forwarding it to where we are to the system where we have children have completed their higher education and they're moving into the engineering or trying to choose a branch in engineering. As Arima pointed out, only 30% of these children, this is data from 2020 and 2021, where children are moving into the, only 30% of the women or girl children are moving into the engineering fields. But even after that, if you see how many of them are actually having a profession and how many of them are quitting because they're not able to sustain. So the issues around these have to be addressed, wherein they are not made to feel inclusive. there are gender stereotypes, and it is a male dominated environment as well. So creating an environment not just at home but also in schools and colleges to encourage women in engineering, I think those are the key aspects. So those are the 3 points. So child development, early development focus area there, and having a more inclusive environment, and having giving them an environment where they can thrive and succeed is a key for overcoming this barrier. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. I think all the panelists spoke with so much of passion that shows how much included and involved they are in this particular aspect of our lives, and we feel so strongly as to how we can have more women participating in in this field. And I'm sure the ideas which have been voiced by each one of are almost common. I mean, we all understand these are issues which needs to be addressed, and all of us are responsible for creating enabling environment at different levels, at our home, in our offices, in our societies. So my next question, which I would like to put to the panel is, although issues which have been discussed have already been talked about, what kind of enabling ecosystem do you think should be provided in your respective industry, which will allow more women participation in engineering field? What are the changes required at organization level? What are the changes required at as an industry level, country level, in terms of policies, regulations, frameworks, infrastructure support, the municipal level support system? So to start with, Jagtha, I would like you to talk about your views on this particular aspect. Yeah.
So if we see, I feel that whatever 3 levels you mentioned, we need to do it together, all together, because having only one will not enable women to come to engineering workforce. I feel at an organization level, again, I want to share my personal story. Now, it has improved definitely, but what we can do more. When I had to take a break for because of my husband's transferable job and the time of my daughter's birth. To come back, it was really difficult. And nobody was willing to look at my resume also. Forget about, they were not even looking at the resume, forget about the interview call. But now it is not the case. Then again, I had to do internship and start all over again. But now it is not the case. Some of the organizations, at least most of the organizations, they are respecting that it is a nature's design. We are forced to take break. It's not that no men can deliver, and they cannot. Yes, they can take care of the child, but because of that organization level, they have to have that kind of policies also. And one more thing, so many years of this gap that we came much later, after like maybe so many hundreds years backwards. We need to have definitely, like, see, we need to have targets at organization level. And you see, at the entry level, more women will be there. And you go up the pyramid, very, very less percentage. If you see any of your company leadership team, if you see, it will be maybe started with 30%, but when you go, it will be 1% or 3%, something like that. So that concentrated effort organization, they have to put in. So when you see more role model, and even the youngsters will be willing to join. Otherwise, they feel, okay, anyway, it is fine. Anyway, I'm not able to reach that level. It will demotivate them. At the same time, having that, quota system, is it good, bad? This always this debate will go on. I feel it is my personal thing. Quota system is good, provided you need to bring women to the level playing field. Maybe you need to give them more training or whatever they lacked so many years, that you need to bring them to that level and competency you improve. After that, give them opportunities rather than just giving, okay, I have to have 30% women in the leadership, I'll put anyone and everyone. It shouldn't be. Organizations, they have to carefully, execute this. Industry level, definitely, because industries, I feel like women leaders should mentor people also. It is not only in their organization alone, like people who are in need, we should mentor, and industry level policies also can be there. It's not only at organization level, industry level policies that you need to have this many percentage of people, and the mindset change. If you see, you mentioned that some of you are from mechanical stream, and in the early stage you would have definitely struggled. The technicians are still men. The technicians are not, we don't have that many women like Western industries, like still men. How much acceptance is there at the industry level? Okay, the lady mechanical boss is going to dictate, oh, she might not know, what does she know? That kind of mindset. So that one, and definitely the policy and regulation level, even now, the policies, really you need to see, only supporting women alone will not encourage women workforce. You need to give that kind, you need to have that kind of policies. Like now India has given 6 months maternity leave. It is welcomed. At the same time, if you are not enabling men to take sabbatical, they are not going to change. Again, they are going to, because they will also lack in their career and things like that. It is very difficult to break their the stereotypical thinking. So the policies should support the society rather than only supporting women. Yes, let's say 60-40 or 70-30, but still they have to make policies to have this rounded thinking. So this is what I think. Definitely policies at the state level, municipal level. I see some of the Western countries, they have very good policies and equal policies for both men and women. So over to you.
Thank you, Jagda, for putting it in a very elaborate manner. I now would request Rema to kindly share her views on this second question that I have posted. What kind of enabling ecosystem, organization level, industry level, country level, state level, and municipal level is required?
So somewhat, thank you, Pamela. Somewhat similar to what Jagadampik had said. I think it's kind of matching views here. So at an organizational level, if you see, right, you call it quota, you call it KPI, or you call it some metrics, whatever that is, right? Driving some of these metrics does help. Though you see a lot of resistance within the organization at times, but then having some measurable against each one of the leadership team helps build that. So if you look at Pratt & Whitney, for example, as I said earlier, we have this paradigm for parity wherein we are looking at having 50% of women representation at all levels within the organization. So we have a clear KPI which is monitored at a monthly level, and there's just not looking at the overall percentage of women, but also women at all levels. So that promotes, that helps at an organizational level, that helps not only just to get women inside the workforce, but also to ensure that women are also grown, they have given equal opportunities, and they are also given meaningful careers within the organizations, and they have grown in that organization. So that helps, and if you don't have it, go find them and acquire. So that's what I tell my managers generally. You look for them and you'll find them somewhere. So it's just sometimes an intent also. So when it flows down from the leadership, I think that it has a much more powerful messaging there. Next is this a topic about unconscious biases that exist in the work environment for women to thrive and grow as equally as men. So we have this initiative where we call it as Men as Allies. This is again to help break some of these unconscious biases. And if you look at some of the studies that has been done by McKinsey a few years earlier, it showed that women get disadvantaged from the start of their career, because what happens is many a times managers who are generally men, right, they tend to be easy on women. Like they tend to be protective in the interest of keeping the women happy and in the workforce. They tend to become a little more protective and with a brotherly or a fatherly attitude while doing this, giving them lesser complex tasks and assignments. There might be very complex tasks which will need you to start to work late in the hours or extra hours and so on, and women may be ready to do it, but then men take a position where they think, oh no, I don't want to, so they tend to take decisions on behalf of the women, which in turn prevents getting the best potential out of women. So I think that unconscious biases is something which, as an organization, driving from the top, having a culture which is removing all these unconscious biases. This is very important in terms of what organizations can do. And we still see it, though we have progressed a lot, there are still pockets where we do see issues there. At the industry level, as I said earlier, that pipeline building is something where I think industry and academia have to break that certain myths and work together in organizations like SAE, Society for Women Engineers. I think they're all supporting it, and we can, and many of the industries are also doing it. But we have to have, I think, continue to focus in this area to help bridge that gap, because it was just an eye opener for me when I saw that only the workforce available is only 30. I mean, the people available for you to choose from is only 30%, right? I mean, so you really need to work hard to bridge that gap, and we need to catch these girls young when what some of these other panelists also spoke about, and educate them about various streams in engineering. The other thought I have is where the industry can actually help bring parents, teachers, and relatives, because what happens, at least for many girls that I have seen, and in my own example, we get influenced, or most of our deciding on careers happen based on what we hear from our parents, teachers, close relatives, and so on. So I think there is also a need for educating people about the fact that it's not, there can be workshops that can be done so that biases that parents have towards some engineering branches can be removed, and they can encourage their children to join such workforces, and then partnering with engineering colleges to mentor and guide girl students. So we already launching one program here in India, tying up with some of the engineering colleges, where we want to do a long-term relationship with the engineering college to really mentor and bring these women into our workforce. So that's another thing that the industry bodies can do, and at an industry level. And another part is like events like these, right? What we are doing, right? Women tend to do their job, then they are also bogged down by something which is happening at home. So they tend to balance these two very, in a very difficult manner. But then, there can be a nudging from organizations like this, where we can nudge women to come forward, work closely with women in high schools and other areas, and encourage them to become role models, and talk to these people, encourage them to come forward. At a country level, when you ask, I think there are multiple policies and regulations that the government is attempting to help women, and they are good. But some of them are also counterproductive. So one of the things that I think can help is, and I think Jagda also touched on that, is on more encouragement for apprenticeships or internships, workshops, etc. at a very early stage, when they can conduct such things, where young women get attracted to hands-on engineering and technology areas. So this will build, so when they have that hands-on experiences from an early stage, they build confidence to take up courses which are traditional in core engineering disciplines. So that's one thing that government can, come up with, like the Skills India program and all that, like that, they can start some of these programs which can help build that pipeline. The other one is, policies and procedures, like, we talked about the maternity policy, which, 6 months of leave. It's a good move. But I've also heard both negative and positive about these kind of things. So there is also, because, women feel that they lose some advantage in their career when they come back, right? So similarly, working late night, restrictions on working late night. So such policies, I would say that a little more flexibility, where organizations can have the flexibility to decide on some of these factors without imposing any strict guidelines. And then maybe, this is my personal view, that maybe government has to look at this separately, for women working in knowledge-based areas versus maybe shop floor kind of jobs. And then, that can enable more women to come into in the knowledge-based areas in engineering. So those are the three thoughts that I have on, in various aspects where we can encourage and help have more women participate. Pamela, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very nicely brought up the issues and suggestions which really will help all of us who are listening today, and also say India can take certain suggestions forward. My next panelist is Lalita. So request Lalita to share her views about on my question number 2. What kind of enabling ecosystem can be provided at different levels?
Yeah, thanks, Pamela. So yeah, see, one thing, first and foremost thing is having a diversified team within a company is very important, because it generates more innovative, creative, and inclusive decisions, and it will result in a better performing team. And specifically women, because generally we are very good at multitasking and very effective at time management. So these are the key traits for delivery excellence, which is useful for any organization. So focus towards spreading awareness on enablement of women engineers and have focused effort in recruiting more engineering candidates is a key. Okay. Once that is done, I think an ecosystem that we create must feel, first and foremost thing, very important thing is you have to create an ecosystem which makes the women feel very comfortable, supportive, and most importantly flexible. So I come from a service industry, so the culture here is different compared to working in an OEM. Here anything and everything is around your customer, critical commitments, time bound, KPI driven. So most of the times it requires a lot of stretch. So when this is the case, it's very important that you have an understanding team to work with certain level of flexibility. Okay, so your leadership, managers, peers, teams plays a very important role. So first and foremost thing, this ecosystem is very important for any women to continue in a team. Okay. Again, my example I want to give, because I could achieve what I am because I had an opportunity to work with really good people here in Infosys. Okay, may it be senior leadership, my peers, teams, they have been a great influence and support throughout my career. So it has boosted my confidence and made a stronger person today. So yeah, that is the first and foremost thing, according to me, is very important. Apart from that, I think, as Jega and Rema spoke, you need to engage with girls earlier, encourage them to get exposed to a range of initiatives in schools and institutions, and imbibe that kind of interest in them. In Infosys, we do have that, where we go and talk to the people in the high school and tell them about what work cool stuff we do here, so that the interest is there, because unless you tell them, you will not get that kind of interest. Second thing is, I think, again, targeted hiring. And then once you hire, you should have a customized mentorship and sponsorship plan to invest in the careers and instill that confidence in women. And most importantly, promoting the work-life balance. So having some flexible work arrangements and timings. And also, I think both Rema and Jaga talked about it, that is having the policies and practices to promote the diversity and inclusion. So it can include unconscious bias training, pay equity, policies to provide balance and flexibility they required throughout the critical and sensitive years of the life, especially during the motherhood and the elderly care. Okay. And then also, if you take a break, then you should have some avenues like back to work initiatives, so that more women can apply. Okay. And also define career path to inspire and encourage in the ladder. So this is very important because the career path within the organization is very important, because otherwise we will be just left behind. So some dedicated focus has to come there. So these are the a few of the points from my side. From the government side, or I think Jega and Rema, so my points are inclined towards that only. But the ecosystem within the company is also very important, and these are few of the steps I think will make a difference.
Thank you, Lalita. Very, very nicely put up. So my last panelist for this question is Margaret. Can you share your views?
Yes, thank you, Pamela. So I would like to address first the organization level, and then I'll go to the state or country level. So at MOG, we believe in the people who work for us, and a part of our investment is on our people. So diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big agenda for us. We moved into this back in 2020 when our CEO announced this initiative. So it's more of a CEO-driven initiative rather than HR-driven initiative, because it is the impact that we need to show, not just speak, but rather show what is the change that we're making at the organizational level. So it's a top-down driven initiative. In terms of that, we also try to inspire more of our employees to bring in more of their innovative thoughts into their thought process, have more open discussions and dialogues with each other. So this is an environment or a culture that we have created within our organization. And first and foremost is the respect aspect of it. We are spread across 25 countries, but we're all connected through respect, and that is what we value within our organization as well. And to building upon this, we have 3 strategic platforms that we have enabled, on which we have a framework for DE&I. So the first one is on the diversity of our workforce to match with the community. So there we have partnerships with the National Society for Black Engineers, or Society for Women Engineers, and other local communities as well. We also have an unbiased decision making in our recruitment process, and also we are going through technology, and also having a diverse talent pool, so that there is no discrimination happening at the hiring itself. And then there is the second aspect is the employees are comfortable to bring their full and authentic selves to work. So in terms of this, we are doing our development programs on ERGs. We have a D&I curriculum that is being built on, and a lot of curriculum that is being enabled through this system, and employees have access to this medium as well. And we also have our currently reviewing all our policies and procedures and making it more inclusive as well. On the third pillar, we have on the diversity of leadership, and there we are committed to the representation at all levels within the organization. We are also the succession planning is a key agenda for us, and we are very open to those discussions, and we're making sure that diverse talent pool is being addressed in those talent discussion reviews as well. And also when we are sourcing qualified resumes from outside, we're also looking at diverse talent pool. So diverse talent pool, I think, is a key agenda for all organizations, and we are also heading in that direction. Just pointing out on one aspect that I think Rema pointed out. Yes, there are male managers who are very soft on their female colleagues, but I think when I grew up, my managers did not think of me like that. They really pushed me hard. I think that's what has made me to be what I am here today. Because in flight engineering, we were asked to do late nights, weekend deliveries, because there were always stringent timelines to meet. So I think also, as Rashmi pointed out, the buck stops with every woman, because if she stands up and says that she can do it, I think that there is nothing that's going to stop us from achieving what we want to achieve. And moving on to the country level, I think it is the socio-economical pressures and the gender bias issues that are there within the society that is causing more women to either not enter into the engineering field, or rather leave them much early on. So, but today, I think after the pandemic, we see that there are more policy changes that have happened around the organizations. You have a hybrid work mode facility, you have work from home, and you also have this gig employment happening around. So more women are now moving towards engineering into this field, and also upskilling themselves in STEM as well. We see that as happening around us. But again, going back to the socially disadvantaged groups and how we can support those groups, I think it is important to set up special schools where children can be educated can be given a support system for the socially disadvantaged groups, and committee members where women are involved, so that the female children who are having issues around in their colleges or in their schools can have somebody to be approached, so that their problems can be solved and they don't drop out because of those issues that are there within their school or college system. And again, moving on in this, organizations have an agenda to close the gender gap, so they are driving towards that. But what is the society or the the government doing towards this initiative? What can organizations do towards this? Because we have to feed that pipeline, we have to feed that demand. So for that, I think organizations can tie up with NGOs, for at least for career counseling or giving them mentorship programs. I think these are the things that organizations can tie up with NGOs and work with them, so that we can bring in more women children from the socially disadvantaged groups into the mainline engineering streams. So those were my thoughts for today on that topic.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Very nicely brought up issues and recommendations. Thank you so much. My last question of this panel discussion is that most of all of you are working in organizations which are global, and you all have had global exposures, and you interact with your peers globally. So what are the best practices that you have found in other countries which you think are not available in India, which can enable more women in engineering field? What are the best practices followed? Maybe in Japan there must be something, in US there must be something. So based on your experiences, what are the best practices that you think can help higher participation in women in engineering? Again, to start with Jekta.
See, some of the best practices, what we have seen where our France and Germany plans, what they have implemented, we have already implemented in India also. I mentioned about the sabbatical, which we take. And in Airbus, we have launched something called Fly Again. So this is really working well. Basically, people who are women, this is mainly for, again, only for women we are doing, and who have taken a break. After that, there is a dedicated recruitment only for them. There is kind of some, you can tell again, KPI or something. We launch that program, we recruit them, they will lack confidence, because for some time, 4 years or 5 years, 6 years, one lady joined, now she's 52. She joined after 13 years of gap. But we really look at their passion, and but we have frequent the programs for them to upskill the recent technology and the competence in this is really working well. And another thing, we have something called balance for business. This one thing that it is not only for women, and everything it takes care, the all part of diversity, the how to work with intergenerational, that also it takes care. So when you're having this balance for business, this is the employee resource group, and it is by employees for employees. It is not HR driven. Because of that, I feel that people are passionate. It's not only women who are helping, even men also. A lot of, in fact, in Airbus India, it's headed by Guy now. So passionate people, when they are doing this, organization should really encourage. We should not think that it is only HR initiative or CEO's initiative. We all are responsible for that. And again, for the STEM education, what we have seen in globally, when they are in 9th standard, around 15 years, they come and spend their 10 days, their vacation in our Airbus plants. Like they go through various departments. They sit with the meetings, even the technical discussions, flight testing, everything they do, and finally they decide. Similar way, at present we have launched these kind of programs. Sometimes we are not, because we don't have the manufacturing plant here. We have only engineering, design and system. So only one day they come and spend with us. Otherwise, we have launched a lot of programs with government schools to educate them, like just giving some fun way of teaching them how aircraft flies and making them do some design part of it. And regularly, some of our colleagues, weekends they are spending with underprivileged kids, like government schools in Bangalore and in and around. Weekends they are going and teaching them mathematics and things like that. From them also we are selecting, and apart from that, early engagement from the universities, like around third year itself, we are giving them a lot of internship. And if they do well, we are taking them. There also, we are concentrating more women graduates. We are maintaining that balance. 50% of the interns. There also, we are maintaining that we need to take women internship. Like we have plenty. I'm just telling a few of them. In the interest of time, I will allow others also to tell. But only one thing which I missed, as not only organization, even as a country, you see, most of you would have read I'm not talking about the pilots, the fighter pilots. You see, the first test engineer, now only the first test engineer of India. You see the Western world, like I don't remember her name, Rhonda. She's I don't know, retired or almost
Retired.
in the retiring age. She was the test engineer. But do we have these kind of things? We really have to think. Even we have to encourage young generation to take up these kind of jobs.
Thank you, Jagata. Thank you so much. Very nicely put up. Rima, your thoughts on this, please?
See the global practices. I mean, typically what I'm seeing within the industry is that more or less most of the industries have something similar in nature. And, especially these captive centers that are set up in India, we try to, adopt or follow many of the things that are already driven globally. So some of the things from in terms of building pipeline, we have, we are partnering with some of the, non-profit organizations like Girls Who Code, Engineers Without Borders, and so on, to promote STEM education. And that we have also started doing it in India with more than 500 plus schools enrolled for this program in India now. Again, it's a Raytheon level, RTX level driven initiative. And then, as we also partnering with rural engineering colleges, or, not the urban, but the outskirts of Bangalore kind of engineering colleges. We've started a scholarship to encourage women. Many of our employees are participating to, to mentor them and bring them up. So those are some of the initiatives that are happening. One thing that we are also, in which I think the first panelist touched upon is, where in the US they have a program called SMASH, which is Summer Math Applications in Science with Hands-on Experience for Girls. Again, this program gets, allows women, girls, even higher secondary women's girls to come to the office, to the factory and all that, and, spend time there, solve some problems and so on. So they get that real life experience of, the shop floor and the engineering environment. We certainly haven't started that, but we would like to see that. But we do certainly think that it's a good thing to build the pipeline. And then in terms of attracting, Empower is another program, flagship program that we have to attract, women who have who want to return back to the workforce, and this has been a big hit also. Even in the new team that I am building, we have a lot of women who are returning to the workforce, so that's really very good. Another specific one for mechanical engineers, because we are very mechanical heavy kind of a product, is something called as MECORA, which is again a Raytheon level thing, where we attract women in mechanical engineering into the organization by giving them kind of a 1 year mentorship and so on, and they solve some problem along with some mentors from the within the organization, and then we select a few of them who are really very good. They are placed into various departments. In the Re-Empower, as Jagata was saying, I mean, we also have something similar where we really handhold these women who are returning back to the workforce to ensure that they get back that confidence, right? Because many a time it's a lack of confidence that happens for these women. So we help them to build that confidence, give them buddies, give them mentors, so that they really come up in this area. In terms of developing and retaining the workforce, I think we have multiple initiatives. If I can, I think if I start talking about it, it will take another 1 hour. But then we have a women's organization, ERG, called RTX-WISE, which is Women Inspiring Success and Empowerment, which is again a global organization with chapters, which is run like a hub and spoke model. So a lot of initiatives under that umbrella. Then some of the enabling things that we have, and which is globally also being done, is of course flexible working hours, creche facility for women, and we almost 90% of that is funded by the company, so it enables women to also financially be empowered in that area to take that decision. Then we also have in terms of development, we have some powerful programs called like Will Rise, for example, which is women in line leadership development. Again, a rigorous program where we have women paired with it's a classroom plus a lot of learning from peers and from senior women, and that's again with something like very unique in those, like you have women who get personal coaches, for example, right? I mean, sometimes women we may know what our deficiencies are and what are preventing us from going further on, but then you have a personal coach with whom you can confide, and that coach really walks you through that whole journey. It brings you it brings better things from from yourself. So those are programs that we have. We also have buddy systems where when women, especially who go on maternity leave and who come or who are in that family journey, who want to do, and they'll have a lot of questions, right? What will happen to my career now, and so on and so forth. So, and by returning back, getting back that confidence and enabling them into the system. So all of that, we have a buddy system which is also helping. And then there are umpteen number of programs under this RTX-WISE, which we are encouraging women to take part in that and take benefit out of it. But yeah, we do see some lack of at times lack of interest. So we are also striving to see how to make it more meaningful for the women population, so that they can be developed and retained, and they can bring in more women into the workforce. So it's a journey, I think. There are some good practices in the US, which I mean, we are majorly in the US, but there are some of them which are very, very good, and we are trying to replicate it here. There are some which are very local in nature and catering to the local workforce. So that's also happening. So overall, a long journey. And I know somebody has asked that question in the chat box on when do we stop, right? Kind of a thing. We'll talk about it maybe a little later. But then I think it's a journey which can stop only when we have equal participation, representing the population. So that's pretty much what we are doing, Pamela, within this organization.
Thank you. There's a lot that you have talked about, and I think if you can share the initiatives that your organization has emulated from global practices in India, and if you can send it to SAE, then
Sure.
they can understand and maybe disseminate it to other organizations who can emulate
Sure.
the same thing. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can I
Will do.
request
Thank you.
Lalita to share her views upon on this? What are the best global practices that she thinks can be adapted?
Sure. Yeah. So Infosys, as you all know, is a global company. We have 84 offices and 123 development centers across 50 plus countries, actually. So yeah, any kind of these initiatives, you just take best practices from that particular country, and then you adapt certain things. So here at Infosys, I think, as Rema talked about, we have a lot of initiatives which I want to really touch upon. Okay, so there are we have partnership with women-focused platforms like Fairy God Boss and In Her Sight, where we can create our profile and visit these platforms, drop a review about how it feels to be working as a woman within Infosys, kind of thing. And it can also so these are the platforms. Apart from that, there are various platforms which one of them I want to talk about them. One is I Am the Future. It's a program by Infosys Leadership Institute to train women for leadership roles. So it's designed as a year-long program in partnership with Stanford GSB, which provides holistic development opportunities for women leaders globally. So this is one initiative. Second is again Restart with Infosys. So Restart with Infosys program aims to provide women with an opportunity to rejoin the corporate workforce and move your career forward. So if you are an experience, like in case you have a break for motherhood or whatever, there is an opportunity to come back and start with Infosys. So in recent, I've been anchoring this for my service offering, and recent past we have hired many women engineers who have were on a break for 5 years, 10 years. Opportunity to give them to join and work with us. So that is one another initiatives. Apart from that, there is one more initiative called Orbit Next, which aims at advancing and empowering the women to excel in their careers in the field of technology. Okay, as a part of this program, women undergo leadership development interventions, technological training, networking, mentoring, and also learn from other successful professionals across Infosys. So there is a lot of training, and then we have an assessment, and then after the assessment there is a very detailed review of those assessment, and then finally you are given that graduation certificate. So this is which is the initiative which has been going on. And also there is another initiative called Women in Leadership Program. So Infosys Leadership Institute is focused in strengthening gender diversity in the organization through this program. So this is also a 2-day full workshop where you get to undergo various trainings to a level, even the food ethic, and also the customers facing the customer kind of thing. So a lot of courses, and finally ended with an assessment. So basically these are the various initiatives within the company which will enable more and more women to participate and get into the leadership roles and things like that. So that is something which we are doing. Yeah, that is from my end, Pamela. That's it.
Thank you, Lalita. Thank you so much. My last panelist for this last question is Margaret. If you can share your views.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So my thoughts are going to be a little bit different because a lot of ideas have come out. I'm going to tell my thought process is going to be how to get there. What is the means of defining that? Because if you look at gender diversity itself, it has become an agenda for all organizations. And if you look at India, how we got involved in from MITC much ahead of more corporation itself is because the American Chamber of Commerce has been inviting a lot of American companies to join hands with them to work on this initiative towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they've been having conferences and seminars and best practices are being shared in those forums. So that's how we got into the journey back in 2018 itself. But moving on, if you look at the best practices, these are very organization centric, and what works for one organization may not work for another organization. But first and foremost, organizations have to first understand where is it that I stand, what are the gender gaps or issues that I have within my organization for the culture that I work around, and address those. So one of the things that we have done is the inclusion audit. We had tied up with a company called Interweave, and they are an organization that offers solutions to organizations and corporations, and they are located in Bangalore to bring in some practices that can close in the diversity issues that they have in their organization. So they support and work with corporations. In the inclusion audit, we have covered many aspects. One of the aspects that we covered is on women in leadership. We talked about women networking and women role models, and we talked about flexible career. We talked about women mentorships. And so those are the different aspects that we have looked at in our survey, and we got to understand where the gaps are and what needs to be addressed. And that, I think, is a key important aspect for every organization, because and this needs to be done at least once every few years, because once you have started putting some plans or processes in place, it may not be sustainable, it may not work, because your talent pool keeps changing, your organization is growing. So you need to do this audit frequently, at least once every 2 years, to understand where you are and to see if you have moved the needle from where you started to where you are today with your policies and procedures. Are they working or are they not working? So this is an inclusion audit that I would suggest is really critical for every organization to take into account. And the other one is that we have tied up with the United Nations Women Empowerment Program. This is again through the company Interweave. We have tied up with the UN Women. And the idea is that by understanding your gaps, by doing a gap analysis, you will get to work with them and understand and build development programs for the empowerment of women, not only in your workplace, but in the society and in the community as well. So doing this inclusion audit, not just within the organization, but also tying up and looking at it from a different lens through the United Nations Women Empowerment Program. And our CEO also has, our managing director also has given a written pledge that, I am, for this cause. And we have built programs around it after we've done the inclusion audit and the gap analysis when we are in that journey, actually. So I think that is what I would be my recommendation for this question.
Thank you so much. Very nicely, brought out certain key initiatives that one can take and bring in the more participation of women. This is the last question. I would request Jeba if we can take at least 3 questions from the audience, and then I can summarize it.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I see 3 questions. Can I read over?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I have one question. The question is, I see even today some organizations do not hire if any woman is newly married or may plan for a child. They say that they will end up with taking maternity leave and not available for work as required. So what can we do in such cases? That was the question.
So to whom is this question addressed? Anybody has addressed this question?
It's not specific. It's general question. So
I think Jagitha very rightly in her initial statement said that the onus of continuity of progeny and the society is only whole solely on women. So if that be so, then organizations need to understand that if the world needs to continue, if the progeny needs to continue, women have to produce. And if women have to produce, they will have to take breaks. So it's in the interest of society to help women to work. Otherwise, we will end up in countries where we have negative population growth, like China, Japan, like Germany, and you will end up, losing your own gene pool, your own culture, your own people. So it's not only women who are responsible for creating the society. The society has to think that women are important part and parcel of developing the society, developing this progeny, and hence they need to create an enabling environment. It is unfortunate. So only by way of education, even though men are educated, still they have these biases. I don't know why. So it's only by way of education, by way of such forums, that this perception can change, and it cannot happen overnight. It will take some time. I request other panelists if they would like to throw some light on it.
Ma'am, I would like to add, sorry.
Go ahead, Jagdan. Yeah.
One more point here, because again, what I have seen in other countries, this is really helping them also. You see, it is just a personal story. My niece was working, and when she had to shift from one account to another account, when she was expecting, no manager was willing to take her, though she was a high performer. Because what they were mentioning, that you will come to my account after 7 months or 6 months, you are going for maternity leave. 6 months of unproductivity, I have to take it. Imagine 10 people team and 3 women, young women, they are scared. Like, I will not blame only the managers or men or even women also, whoever was the manager. The reason is the productivity and the targets are there for the manager. But in other countries where I have seen best practices, the person, whoever is going on maternity leave, we are paying taxes. Government is paying salary. Like, government is taking part of the remuneration they are giving. So at that time, you don't have that pressure on that manager. In the profit and loss, you will see out of 100%, like 30% of the workforce is not available, but you are forced to deliver the same. So it's just, I wanted to add this point. As a society, we need to take care. It is not only, we cannot impose this thing only on men or the manager.
Correct. I think the social security
Yes,
system in India is missing.
exactly.
So that is the reason why we have such problems. In other countries, the social security system is very, very robust, and these things get taken care very well. So as a country, we should have a good social security system which can also address this issue that women who have to take break for their maternity needs to be compensated, and the organizations need to restructure their target system, because it cannot happen that as I said, it's the need of the society, and women are fulfilling that need of the society, and they cannot ignore it.
Yeah, it is not only the company, the society also has to support.
Exactly.
We cannot put only on the company, because end of the day they also have to make profit. Otherwise,
Correct.
shareholders will lose.
Correct.
So as a society, we need to support.
Correct. I think
We have
Rema wanted to speak something.
we have one more question.
Based on my experiences, what I've seen is at times, women also tend to take this phase a bit. I think it's all because of the new phase of life, right? You have a child, you have people go through multiple psychological things also at times in that phase, and you're overwhelmed by a small baby in your hand and so on. So, women tend to also take it, and at least in my experiences, I have seen both the cases, but a lot of women who tend to come back with, they would have taken 6 months maternity, but then they keep asking, can I take another 6 months? Is that, so men have that experiences where they have had that bad thing, right? I mean, that's one thing that is, I think, not changing the way we are addressing this problem. So for me, I think there's a lot of onus lies in the women too, because I have seen women who, I have coached and mentored many women when they're just coming out of maternity, and they refuse to take the support system that is available, right? I mean, sometimes you feel that I don't want to leave my child with my mother-in-law. I want to be, I'm very scared of leaving it in a crash and so on. And, I think those are things which women, it's finally your choice, right? I mean, whether you want your career or you want your thing. So the women have to come forward, I think, a more, assertively on this and decide on what they want to do. You'll have to give away something to gain something else. So, so that's the take I have on it. And women can play a role. The more we see in our society, more women, coming back and doing this, I think the more it will give people the confidence that no, they will come back, and it's just a small break. It is a needed break, and people will be more accommodative of those things.
Actually, one of the issues during the discussion has not, which Rima, you now touched, is that, as women are getting educated and financial independence, they are becoming more rigid. Okay, so the acceptance of help, I say that if you have to build your careers, you have to depend on support system. If you do not take support system, if you do not depend yourself on a support system, which is maybe your mother, your in-laws, your maids, or your crèche, you are going to penalize your career. So the flexibility and acceptance among females should be that, for my own selfish reason, I have to, have trust and faith. And the problem is, women don't have trust and faith that their child is being taken care by somebody else other than them. Maybe the other person is taking much more better care than you are. So it's basically your self confidence you need to build, and have trust that you can trust somebody with your child, and that unless and until that happens, you will lose on your careers, you'll penalize your careers. I think Jeba, you have another question?
Yes, I'll go for the question. Where do we draw the line between seeking concessions and equality?
I think that was addressed by Reema during her talk, that we are in the building up phase. We don't have much women participation. So we will have to continue to have concessions and reservations for some time till the society accepts that the women are equally capable, and there is the natural competition draws women in the organization. So till that time, I think concessions are required and will be helped. I think this has been touched upon by other panelists also, that we need to have reservations till the time the society matures to that level of maturity. So, any other questions, Eva?
Yes. The last question is, most the women are scared to go for child due to system what we are having right now. What to do with with these issues? How to take this positively? They keep postponing and finally end up with a lot of issues. I don't.
Yeah, it is true.
I know.
Women delay their childbirth, and then later on they face problem when they want to have a child. Because so, any panelists would like to touch upon? Otherwise,
I think I can go for that. So I think touching upon what the other speakers here talked about, at the end of the day, it's we are good at multitasking. We can have our both professional and our personal lives. So and giving importance to both is key, because as a woman, I need to take care of my family, and I also need to have a career for myself, for my own growth. So I think end of the day, it all stops with us, with our decision making. However, there may be pockets of issues that we've discussed today around that hampers that decision making. But at the end of the day, I as an individual need to make that conscious right decision. And if I can do that with the help, like you talked about, having a support system early on, so that I can, finish my childbirth early on when I am healthy, and then and also have a career along with it. That is I think what is important, and it is the decision that I need to make consciously for myself.
correct, absolutely correct,
Just to,
absolutely correct.
sorry. Yeah, just to add to what you told, I think I can give my own examples. I had my first child when I was 25 years old. Many people thought it was too early, actually. Okay. But I got married when I was 23, 24, and I had my first child when I was 25. And yeah, I think it was too early, I thought then, because a lot of responsibilities and I was working. And but end of the day, I think it's your choice, and what mindset you make, and how determined and firm you are with what you want to achieve. Okay, so there is a way. And as I told earlier, we are good at multitasking, we are good at effective time management. So I used to actually morning go to office. I used to stay close by, so to office. Then I used to come back home for feeding my son, and then go back again, and then come back. And then any work that is pending, I used to keep it to the later part of the day after the child sleeps. So all these kind of adjustments and time management and flexibility, if you are actually firm and focused, and if you want to, yes, career is important, and even my motherhood is important. If you are balanced out in that, make up your mind, I think it is, you can really do it. So and after 10 years, I had second child. So again, I adopted the same thing. So I think it's all in our mindset, and if you are focused and if you are firm, I think we can make it. So I mean, it's not that easy, but it's not that difficult as well. So
Yeah, I think many women just try to give up because that's an easy path. So they don't want to face the challenges, they don't want to face the struggles. But there is no joy without a struggle. Okay, so they lose out on many things: financial independence, social security, etc., which they don't realize early. So, as a part of mentoring, women who are in positions currently can talk about how to develop a ecosystem, how to develop a confidence and trust. And it's only a matter of 2 to 3 years, where you can have shared responsibilities. Then you're taken care of well. I mean, then there is nothing, no looking back, basically. So, Jetha, I think this is the last question we'll take, and I will quickly
Yeah.
summarize.
Are
It
you,
has been.
yeah, are you available
Sorry.
for one more? Are you available for one more question? A quick
Does the
question.
time permit? It depends on you. I think 12:30 was your hard stop. It's 12:36.
Yep.
Does your time permit, Jetha? Jeva?
Maybe, only this question you can answer and close this. Is it
Okay.
So in this race of providing the best for women, we end up with not noticing the equal rights for both men and women sometimes. How can we make sure that we balance this? How do we change the tag that you are given chances because you are a female and not because we believe in you?
Mm. Can you repeat the question again?
Okay. How do we change that tag that we are given chances because you are a female and not because we believe in you?
That
I
is
can.
our responsibility to change. I mean, we cannot be seen that we are, privileged, hands me down individuals. All women who are here are much well accomplished and they have proven by their accomplishments. So it's your perception. Sorry, Rima, you wanted to say something.
No, I think I kind of try to tell something similar to what you are saying, and all of us have gone through it. I think many of us have gone through it. They think that we are here because we are a lady or a woman, and I think it's all in you, right? I mean, if you believe it, then you will be the one who will lose out on that. You are there because you have your capability. You are, so nobody will risk a position or a role just to give it to